All right, hello everybody. It's me, Elf Hunter, or just David, here with Adept Austin today, and we're talking about why Mythras. This is our new series, and we're going to be going over the rules of Mythras, um, piece by piece. This first one is about characters, and we're also going to be going into why we chose Mythras as our system of choice. And specifically for us, we like to play an in-character style. So we're going to go over why Mythras supports that for us. Maybe you like that in-character play. Maybe you like something different. But for us, that's what we like. And so we're going to be explaining how it supports that, why we use Mythras for that.
Yeah, for War Grimes in the chat, BRP, BRP, BRP. There you go. You can drink some more
Absolutely.
coffee.
I hope he's still here. 2 viewers. All right. I'll go ahead and add this Mythras rules and why they strengthen roleplay.
Yes. So, as you saw on the thumbnail, hopefully, we're just going to be starting off with just characters and how to create them. It's a very short chapter in the book. Honestly, the book is about a little more than 300 pages, but only the first about 110 are really character rules. The rest are about magic, the abundant magic systems of Mythras, and then creatures. Now, we're going to go over designing characters, characteristics, calculating all those things, and then, very important to a skill based game, the standard skills and combat styles and why they really change how Mythras feels compared to other BRP games. The most commonly known as probably Call of Cthulhu.
All right. So, jumping right into creating a character or designing a character, the first and I would say the most important thing is character concept. Before you get into their attributes or hit points or anything like that, you want to know what kind of character am I going to be role playing. So there's some examples given in the book: barbarian, warrior, naive wizard. You guys can read the rest of them. But yeah, that's you have to start from somewhere, and it's really all starts with a concept, and then we can get into other things from there.
Yeah, so really big thing is that, in the world's most popular role playing game, you are defined by your race and your class. But in Mythras, it is extremely human centric. You cannot rely on your exotic species to role play your character for you. But that doesn't mean you can't play as these non human species. Like I said, the back half of the rulebook is all about different species. And there's a couple of them that are singled out as like, hey, a player might want to play this. They would just change the calculations that we're about to go over later. Instead of the human calculations, they would use the calculations listed in the stat block. You can really play as any species you want. But like I said, Mythras thrives in a human centric environment where you're not really using your species as a crutch, but you're using that character concept that Elf Hunter was just going over. Anyways, moving on.
We have our characteristics. These are what make up your character at a very basic level. If you played any role playing games before, these are probably familiar to you. Strength represents physical strength, lifting, how hard you can hit, so on. Constitution, measure of health and hardiness, makes you physically tough, resistant to disease, poison. Size is your mass, helps indicate height and weight. You're more likely to be heavier and bigger. And size is pretty cool and distinguishes Mythras from some other games, because when you have a high size, you're going to be hitting a lot harder. for one thing. That's one of the things it affects. And if you want to play a high-powered game, you might even take out size. Mythras is, I think the word is amenable in that way. Might be the wrong word. In that you can take things out and the game is not broken. You can doctor it to your liking in that way. Strength, con, size, dexterity is your agility, balance, and reflexes. If you have a high dexterity, you might be fast, nimble, graceful, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and going back to that size thing, it really adds to the realism, just like most of the other BRP games. But if you were wanting to play one of those, high-powered games similar to like a Pathfinder or a Dungeons and Dragons, that's when you may think, let me take this out. That way, you can fight these giant like trolls, and sure, they're still strong, but it's not like they're hitting you like like realistically something that big would be hitting you, right? It's like, oh, that hurts.
Right.
But continuing on with intelligence, pretty simple. It's a measure of your cognitive ability. It dictates your ability to learn and to think. It's actually pretty important for increasing your skills later on. Mythras does not have a wisdom score, but a power score. And it's really like I guess in other games you have like, oh, the charisma is your power of will, but that's power in this game, right? It can measure your literal capacity for magic, your soul, as it were. You can actually use it differently in different settings. Most of the time, and in base Mythras, it's about your magic. And then charisma, of course, is it's actually much more basic than other games. Charisma is just your charisma. It measures your personality, and it does not have anything to do with how good or bad looking you are. It's just how you're able to charm people with that silver tongue that you may or may not have.
Right. All right. So calculating characteristics. This is how we determine what our characteristics are. The first method, dice roll in order. So for most of your characteristics, that's going to be 3d6, except for size and intelligence. Those are going to be 2d6 plus 6. That's the standard for humans. That's why it's a little bit different. So the first method would to be just to roll those down the line, put them in order of what you got, and what you got is what you got.
Exactly. And there are other methods, but these, once again, are the core rules that we're going over right now. And I don't think we said anything about it yet, but anyone who's in chat right now, we're going to get to that chat later. The idea is that we're going to get through this kind of rules segment so that it's easily shareable, easily watchable, and it's not going to be a super long video, right? But the next way to do this is very simple. It's the same thing. You roll the dice, but you can assign those numbers where you like. But very important is the 3d6 that you roll for like a strength, that cannot be used to go into size or intelligence. Those are almost like two separate pools. So you would roll for strength, con, dexterity, power, and charisma. You can mix those around however you want. And then you can roll for size and intelligence and decide, okay, is my guy going to be really big, or am I going to switch it around and they're going to be very intelligent, right? And once again, all of these numbers right here, these dice formulas, this is for human characters. If you were going to play something like a centaur or maybe an elf, you would use the numbers that are in the creatures chapter.
Yep. And the third method, dice roll, not dice roll, points build. So rather than rolling dice, you'll have a pool of 75 points. Certain rules apply to that, though. 1-to-1 characteristic cost, that means 1 point gets you 1 point in your characteristic.
As opposed to maybe like in the Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, where once you get to a certain point, it starts costing more, right? So it's like there's sort of like a squeezing effect as you go higher and higher. In Mythras, they don't care. Throw it all. If you want an 18 dexterity, you need to spend 18 points.
Right. Characteristics cannot be lower than the minimum value or greater than the maximum value of that characteristic. So, for example, size for humans is 2d6 plus 6. Well, the lowest you could roll your 2d6s is a 1 on each one. So 1 plus 6 is 8. So your minimum is 8. And then do the same thing for your maximum. You get minimum of 8, maximum of 18. So even when you're doing the points build, you still have to be between 8 and 18 for size and intelligence. You have to be between 3 and 18 for your other characteristics.
God help you if you've got a 3 con.
Yeah, that's pretty tough.
Yeah. And then, of course, you have to use all the points. You can't leave any on the table. There's no mechanics such as like, oh, I'm going to use less points and get other bonuses. It's just these are the points you have. And there are
Right.
other rules in different books for starting with more points than 75. Anyways, continuing on, we have the attributes. So these are the things that really make Mythras tick. So you have your action points, your damage modifier, your experience modifier, your healing rate, and your height and weight. I'll leave the rest of them for Elf Hunter. But action points are, to me, a very elegant way of handling, okay, well, all this stuff in the combat is supposed to be happening at the same time, but I have my turn and then the next guy has his turn. How does that work? Well, with action points, it subdivides the round into cycles, and we'll get into that later on. But really, you just calculate that. That's based off of your intelligence and your dexterity. The idea being, if you can think faster, if you can move faster, you can do more things. Next up is your damage modifier. I mean, it says what it does on the tin. Strength plus size. If you're bigger, if you're stronger, you can hit harder. Next up is experience modifiers. I remember I was watching when I was learning how to play this game. I can't remember what video it was, but I just remember seeing a comment. Experience modifier is based off charisma. The bards win again. If you higher charisma, you actually can gain experience quicker. The idea being that people like you and they're more willing to help you learn. And then healing rates is based on your constitution alone. Just you can heal faster if you have a higher constitution, slower if your constitution is lower. And then height and weight, there's not really any mechanical benefits to that, but it does help you really envision your character. It's all in centimeters, so me as an American, sorry, I have to convert it in my head. I'm learning. Centimeters for height, kilograms for weight. There are 3 different weight kinds. You can be a lithe build, a medium build, or a heavy build. It doesn't affect your statistics at all, but it really helps you envision what does this character really look like.
Before I go on to hit points, do we want to go over how each of these are calculated?
I went over which stats you need for them. If we don't need
Okay.
to go over into the minutia.
Okay. Next is hit points. Where am I? Here we are. Based off your constitution and your size. And we'll go over hit locations later, but your hit points are determined based off your constitution and size for each hit location. So, for example, you might have 3 hit points in your leg, 4 in your abdomen, 5 in your chest, and so on. And what they represent is how much injury an area of the body can withstand before it becomes useless, essentially. Initiative bonus. We actually don't use this in our games.
Yeah, that's true.
But you can. It is used to represent the moment, the order in which things occur, the order in which characters act. And that's determined by your intelligence and your dexterity. Luck points. Some may use luck points, some may not. But it's standard to have them. They represent a strange force differentiating adventuring heroes from everyday folk. So it's like fate, karma, simple good luck, whatever you want to call it. They let you do a few different things. Re-roll the dice if unfavorable, mitigate physical damage or other unfortunate circumstances, or gain an edge at a vital moment in combat. And we can go over exactly how they're used later.
Yeah, different
But
part for sure.
the amount of luck points you have is determined by your power. Magic points also determined by your power. When you use magic, cross off a point, you have less points. It represents your pool of magical ability or your spirit or what have you. Most commonly used when you cast a spell. And then movement rate, pretty self-explanatory. It's how fast you can move. For humans, it is 6 meters. For us, we do a lot of theater of the mind. It doesn't come up as much, but it is good to know.
Yep. And then, of course, the heart and soul of any skill-based game, the skills. So, one thing that Mythras does differently than something like Call of Cthulhu is it divides the skills into standard skills and professional skills. If you don't have a professional skill, you can't even try it. All right. You can maybe figure out a way, oh, I don't have a professional medicine skill, but I can try first aid, do as best I can, right? But I really like that divide. It helps the character sheet specifically not look so intimidating to new players. Because if you look at like a Call of Cthulhu character sheet, it's like, oh my goodness, all these skills, it's insane. And then you look at them and it's like, this skill is 1%. Why do I even have
Yeah.
it? But we have these skills here. I don't want to go necessarily too into what they're used for. We can do that later in a different episode. But you can see all these skills, their base level is based off of your characteristics. So athletics is strength and dexterity. Hopefully that makes sense to you. Boating is strength and constitution, and so on and so forth. You may be seeing, hey, there's kind of some skills in here that don't make very much sense to me, such as dance. Why is dance a skill in this game? And the nice thing about Mythras and all BRP systems is they really invite you to kind of mess with the skill list a little bit for whatever you need. The story that the designers give is like, well, anyone can try to dance, and Mythras is really focused on like that ancient, maybe Bronze Age type setting where dancing can actually be very important for rituals and things like that. Same thing with sing is on there. I really find it hilarious. You have a really low sing score, but boy, you can try. Someone will like your voice. Were there any other skills on here that you think that jump out to you?
Native tongue. That's interesting.
Yeah, so native tongue, they put that there because obviously not everyone speaks the same language, but there has to be some standard skill. Most people can talk. So native tongue, you would actually say, okay, what is that native tongue? Is it English? Is it French? Is it Elvish? Right? And that's your basic skill. You actually get a bonus to that. We'll go over it at another time, but that's why it's native tongue and not a specific language like common. That's used in other games, right? Same thing with customs as well. It's the customs of your civilization.
Right. And I don't think you'd really roll against native tongue. It's more of just a measure of how eloquent you are.
Yeah, they're like, why do I need to roll to talk? You don't. It is exactly like you said, Elf Hunter. If I remember correctly, it's based into like 1 to 25%, 26 to 50, and so on and so forth. If you have above a 50%, you can speak pretty easily. It's like like me speaking to you. I can't be like all academic about it. I'm not very eloquent, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
All right.
So this looks like this is 22 skills here. Oh, I want to say real quick, you mentioned Mythras is focused on like a classical kind of historical
like
fantasy.
Stone Age, Bronze Age.
And it is. I'd say the rulebook really supports that, but you can do anything in it.
Oh yeah, there's many settings.
Yeah.
Mythic Britain. You have Luther Arkwright, which is like a dimension hopping, sci-fi type thing. You have M Space, which is Star Wars with the the serial numbers filed off. Excellent game. That's not actually from the design mechanism, but it's through their license. It's by, I believe, Frostbite Publishing. I've heard it's a great book.
Yes, I've heard that as well.
All right, and then my favorite thing, my favorite change to BRP, combat styles.
Combat
take it away.
styles. So all combat styles are determined by your strength plus your dexterity, at least for the base points for now. And a combat style represents how you fight. We have on the slide here, get creative, meaning, like here, I'll give an example. A combat style could be street brawler or assassin. You're not going to have a style that's like sword, another one that's axe, another one that's mace. No.
Yeah.
So you'll get together with your group, and you can use the ones in the book or make up your own, and think, my character, he's in a culture that he's like in the town guard, so he would have shield, spear, sling. That would be contained within his combat style. So it represents the weapons that he's trained in.
Exactly. And you can have different combat styles based on your culture or your career. For example, if you're a military man, right, it doesn't really matter what you grew up culturally, you're going to be trained in these certain weapons of war, right? And you said, Elf Hunter, that you can make your own. Mythras is very clear. You should make your own.
Yeah.
The things in the book are only examples. You should take this as far as your table wants to. It does recommend that the GM makes these combat styles. I disagree. You should definitely get together with your entire table and figure out, hey, how does this work? What would make sense? Don't worry about balance. That doesn't, a formally trained from birth knight, their combat style is not going to be balanced with, a peasant who fights with a sling and maybe his big old fork thing. What's like a pitchfork?
Yeah.
And then,
real quick, basically, anytime going forward in the book, it says the GM will determine, at least the way we like to do it, it's more like the table will get together and talk about it. Talk about how we want to do this.
Yes, and I put this here, not like Call of Cthulhu. BRP gets more coffee, War Grimes. And that's specifically because in normal BRP, normal Call of Cthulhu, they have your fists, they have your pistol, shotgun, rifle. That's not how combat styles work in Mythras. It is a package deal. If you're trained as, say, a modern soldier, you don't only know how to fire a pistol. You've been trained in close quarters combat. You've been trained with a rifle. You've been trained with specialty gear, right? That's all part of that combat style. That way you don't have I'm a mighty warrior. Oh, but I didn't train my, I don't know, knife, and so I can't fight with a knife.
Right. And you can still use weapons that are close enough. We'll get into exactly how that works in another episode. But it's not like, I wasn't trained in greatsword, so I just can't swing this. No. You can still, try.
All right. Well, I think that's enough. I hope that got across just the basics of character creation in Mythras. Let's go ahead and check out the chat.
Well, hang on. Do you want to talk about what the traits are?
We'll go over that in the combat section. It's just things that make you a little bit special, makes that combat style really focused on doing what it's good at.
All right. Well, if you're watching the VOD, thank you for watching. We'll go ahead and end it here. Have a good night.